Today's the 26th of July, a significant day in Cuban history. Any updates that you can provide about getting communications or just your efforts overall?
Well, I am thrilled that today, at my urging, the Biden administration released a letter signed by countries from across the globe in support of the Cuban people. In an effort, as I have said, to have a diplomatic surge so that the regime understands that this isn't just the United States giving echo to the cries of the Cuban people. This is the world giving echo to the cries of the Cuban people. And that statement, joined by a series of nations, not only in the Western Hemisphere, but throughout the world, is a very powerful one. I am very pleased to see that the Biden administration sanctioned last week some of the top military individuals in Cuba who have been repressing peaceful protesters, who are creating violence against peaceful protesters. This is the first time that sanctions were ever levied against individual leaders inside of Cuba. And lastly, I know the administration, I met with the Secretary of State last week before I came back to New Jersey. They are actively looking at what is the best way to provide internet access to the people of Cuba so that Cubans can continue to speak to each other, so that Cubans can organize themselves, so that Cubans can let the rest of the world know what is happening. So those are just some of the things the administration is in the midst of doing, and I certainly applaud them for it. And we want to ultimately give the Cuban people the opportunity they want, which is about freedom. Some people confuse what their march is about. It's all about freedom. Okay, yes, what was your follow-up?
My follow-up was your reaction to many countries, particularly Mexico and others, who continue to express strong support for the regime in Cuba. Is this a topic of conversation? Did you ever get to address this with them?
Yes, there's constant conversations with countries who do not seem to stand up for human rights and democracy in Cuba. As I often remind other countries and their leaders, you can't stand up, for example, for Uyghurs in China or talk about human rights in some other place of the world and all of a sudden have a different view on Cuba. What we are seeking is what the Universal Declaration of Human Rights calls for under the United Nations, and that is for the right of each Cuban to choose who governs them, the right of each Cuban to ultimately worship at the altar that they wish, the right of each Cuban to decide their own future and that of their family, to pursue their own interests, and to be able to think freely. Those are universal, so we object to the countries that are siding with the regime because they're siding with the oppression of a people. And so you can't pick and choose. You're either for human rights and democracy or you're not. Thank you very much.